This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. Donald Trump went back to the site of the production that the government played out back in July, where we were shown an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump was brought back to the same exact spot to show us how brave and how tough he is. And I have to play for you some of the takes from this rally, because Elon Musk was brought up on stage to give a speech, and it's a very bizarre speech. But for those of you who are aware of how important you consenting to this corporation is, well, Elon Musk is going to make it really clear, because he's virtually begging you to make sure you go vote, you go harass people who won't vote, and you drag people to register and vote for Donald Trump. He uses a lot of statements that make us all who are in the know understand what's coming next, because we might not know what the pre-selected outcome is for November 5th, but one thing's for sure. There's going to be propaganda and stories about election interference and election fraud, because this is the big coup de grace to bring in the digital ID. This is what they're doing. What they're openly talking about should make no sense to anyone. The fact that we have states like California who are banning actually using a license or an ID and letting people from out of the country vote is utter treason, and it's utter insanity. The fact that Democrats are okay with this just shows you how unhinged and how dumbed down people have become. Literally, we're allowing people, we're told, from other countries to vote in our election. Now, this doesn't matter anyway, because your vote does not count. But why it matters is that they need to convince Republicans and Democrats into the digital ID. And Republicans are going to get duped into a digital ID. This is what they're going to use. The PSYOP they're going to use is telling you that it's very difficult to figure out who voted and who didn't vote, how many illegals voted, and thus conservatives will be begging for the digital ID. Now, if you've listened to my channel over the years, I've talked about how the digital ID is going to lead, in my belief, to the mark of the beast. A lot of people think the mark of the beast is here already. There's experiments that have been done that we can all look at that have a lot to do with what the mark of the beast is going to look like. Because yes, you're going to have a certain something inside of your body in order to have a digital ID. You're going to have to be able to have a digital ID if you want to be able to buy or sell. But the initial stage of the digital ID will not be biometrical. It will just be a digital ID. It eventually will be biometrics, which means it will be embedded in you. That is what my belief is. But I have to play for you some of the stuff with Elon Musk. Remember, Elon Musk is playing the role here of this big tech guy, this guy who's so smart, who supports free speech. All of a sudden, he's no longer a Democrat conveniently, because remember, they need people like Musk to convince you that technology is not a problem. In fact, technology is what we need, and we need more of it. Elon Musk is suddenly a conservative. I'm going to start by playing you some of these clips of him being brought on stage. And immediately people out there should laugh, because the first thing Trump says is that if it wasn't for Elon Musk, we wouldn't be bringing humans into space. And if you think you're awake and you still fall for the most basic government psyops like space and us going to the moon, well, you're probably just as asleep as the communist Democrats out there. But let's start with that. Here's the quote of him on stage being, Trump is lauding the fact that this man's bringing us to space. I mean, how dumb can conservatives be, really?
Car company in generations, and his rocket company is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Come here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
Hi, everyone.
Is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space.
So, of course, in addition to that, this is a quote that we've heard over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? This is the most important election of our lifetime. If you've listened to the repetition and the pattern here, Democrats and Republicans are using this talking point because they're going to bring the infrastructure down with this election. Whatever massive false flags and psyops they have planned around it, trust me, they've got them planned. They didn't do this buildup for 8 years so that they could just tell you that one person won or the other person won, and that's the end of the story. There will be massive stories, massive psyops, lots of stories like you heard with the previous election about how counties were, harvesting ballots, hiding ballots, write-in ballots, make-believe ballots. That'll be one of the narratives. We also know there'll be false flags that surround it. But I want you to listen here to him talking about and playing to the audience, of course, talking about free speech and the right to bear arms, while also talking about how California is allowing people without IDs to actually vote, because that's what this is headed towards. Here is Musk.
And I think this election, I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. This is no ordinary election. The other side wants to take away your freedom of speech. They want to take away your right to bear arms. They want to take away your right to vote effectively. You've got 14 states now that don't require voter ID. California, where I used to live, is just passed a law banning voter ID for voting. I still can't believe that's real. So how are you supposed to have a proper election if there's no ID? It's just meaningless. And free speech is the bedrock of democracy. And if people don't know what's going on, if they don't know the truth, how can you make an informed vote? You must have free speech in order to have democracy. That's why it's the First Amendment. And the Second Amendment is there to ensure that we have the First Amendment. President Trump must win to preserve the Constitution. He must win to preserve democracy in America.
So in addition to those things, I want you to listen now to Elon Musk begging his audience, begging Trump and his audience, begging everybody out there listening to vote. It's almost a plea to vote. Now, if you don't understand how this works, your vote is consent. You're signing up. You're consenting to what's coming, okay? It's like a contract that you sign when you get a cell phone, or a contract you sign when you're making a deal with a business, a corporation, hiring a lawyer. That's what it is. It's an American corporation, and they need your consent. That's why they're so hell-bent on you going to vote. In addition to that, they also need your consent because remember, each side is going to blame the other side for whatever comes. If Trump is put in power and we head into World War III, all the Democrats will blame Trump voters. They will not go and do anything to Donald Trump. They will not go and look at the Republicans in power. They will blame each other. And that's part of how this works. Divide and conquer. Making sure that we're blaming one another for all of this stuff because of our vote. Now, as you listen to this clip, keep a few things in mind. Because Elon Musk talks about how important it is for everybody to vote, how this is a must win. And if this doesn't go the way that they think, if people don't actually go and vote, this will be the last election. And that's another repetitive talking point we've heard them use over and over and over again. And it's almost like an act of desperation when we hear Elon Musk in this clip. He literally is trying to convince people out there that their vote does count. This is one of the narratives that they want. They want conservatives to get angry at people like us because we don't consent to what these corporations are doing. And he goes on to say, well, of course your vote counts. Now, let me get this straight before you hear this clip. We're supposed to believe that our government, we all know the government has the ability to manipulate the weather. We all know that the government is doing disturbing psychological, just absolute trauma on children out there by convincing them that they're the opposite gender. There's all sorts of things that we can look at and say, wow, this government is completely rogue and completely sick. But it's very important, it seems to them, to convince us that it's a crazy notion to think that our vote doesn't count? Who tells us that our vote actually was counted? Who tells us who wins the election? Oh, the same mainstream media. We're told, well, you know, it's fake news or it's this or that. We're supposed to take them at their word, that whatever they tell us on the television the night of the election, as they just show us numbers flashing across the screen, we're supposed to believe that in real time. It's amazing to me that people out there actually think, with all the technology they have and all the control they have, and how even this process is presented to us with voting, that we're supposed to believe that they do this to us, they do that to us, they take our free speech away, they throw us off the internet, they put us in the social media prison, but they're going to let us decide who the next president of the United States is going to be, right? There's no way that they can have full control over that. There's no way where there's an invisible vote that's counted because nobody sees this thing tallied. It's not like we're watching the Truman Show or something where we could, and this is an idea I've mentioned many times, where we could watch each person go and vote on camera and we could see a tally. Might be a tedious task, but if you don't show us it that way, then who's actually going to believe any of this stuff? Well, the answer is the sheeple will. The sheeple will believe because they have to believe, because they're putting all their hope in man. So Elon goes out of his way to tell us that this is the most important election of all time. He has showed you the stuff with the digital ID. And he says this will be the last election. He truly believes that if people don't go out there and vote. This is a psyop, folks. Look at them lure and bait their audience and try to convince them that they have a responsibility and that all this crazy crap going on where the government is telling people that they, should be castrating their kids and that they aren't allowed to speak freely. Oh, but we can vote and we have say in who becomes the president. Give me a break.
This is a must-win situation. Must win. So I have one ask for everyone in the audience, everyone who watches this video, everyone on the live stream. There's one request. It's very important. Register to vote. Okay? And get everyone you know and everyone you don't know, drag them to register to vote. There's only 2 days left to register to vote in Georgia and Arizona. 48 hours. Like, text people now. Now. And then make sure they actually do vote. If they don't, this will be the last election. That's my prediction. You need to get everyone you know, at work, your friends, family, text groups, your social media, everything. Get them to register to vote right now. Only 2 days left for Georgia and Arizona. Only a couple weeks left in Pennsylvania. And if they're not registered to vote, it doesn't matter at that point. Register to vote. I'm being repetitive for a reason, okay? So nothing is more important. And a lot of people think maybe their vote doesn't count. Well, it does, okay? It does. It matters. And this election could be decided by 1,000 votes, 500 votes. A tiny margin. So get everyone you know to register to vote. I believe that's swapthevote.com. I believe that's the site. And double check that your registration is good. Don't take it for granted. I'm just being repetitive about this point because it is the one takeaway, more than anything, that will matter is getting those registrations and then getting everyone you know to actually vote. That is what will decide this election, especially in Pennsylvania. So thank you, and honestly, you want to just be a pest. Just be a pest to everyone you know, people on the street, everywhere. Vote, vote, vote. Fight, fight, fight. Vote, vote, vote. Thank you.
And again, that's all about consent. It's about your consent to the corporation. It's about you not only consenting, but allowing the government to do what they're going to do moving forward. And they want this illusion out there that You're responsible for what happens because they want to blame you. They're not going to blame each other. They're going to say, well, Trump's president. So who do we blame? Well, we blame the idiots who voted for him, right? Remember that Howard Stern clip I played recently where he kind of let the cat out of the bag? And he talked about, well, I don't hate Donald Trump. Well, of course he doesn't hate Donald Trump. He's been on his show hundreds of times, right? I mean, conveniently, all these celebrities have turned their back on Donald Trump, right? Because they're all communists, apparently, and Donald Trump's not one of them anymore. Then they can't take it, right? But what did he say? He said, I don't hate Donald Trump. I hate the people who vote for him. That's the important quote you have to remember because they're gonna blame voters. They want your participation so you're held accountable. And remember too, I've talked about this a lot recently. We see that a lot of people out there on the left and right are actually more angry at people like me and you and hate us because we won't participate in this. I get comments almost every day. People follow my content. They're like, oh, I'm learning so much stuff here. Oh, I found your website. I've learned so much. But I have to unsubscribe because you don't support Donald Trump. And it just tells you how people are grasping and putting this hope in a man when they should just be putting their hope in God. And they should be realizing by not participating in this or with this rogue government, that's the best chance that humanity has to pull back away, get them to take their foot off the pedal. But as we move forward with technology, nobody realizes that it's all this enslavement comes via the tech. And that's why Elon Musk is one of the faces of this now. That's why they did this psyop with Twitter, even though I love how they do this stuff with Twitter and they're like, it's a free speech platform. Why don't you go over to Twitter, right? Right? And people don't even look at it and say, well, do you know that, they say the same thing to me about Rumble, right? Now, why would I go there if they're telling me to go there? They're telling me that, it's a free speech platform. For conservatives, right? We shouldn't have platforms for conservatives and platforms for liberals. People should be able to post where they want. But they want you to stay in a hive mind, which is why they want conservatives on these platforms and liberals on those platforms. So you're only speaking to the same audience. You can't reach new people, which is why we have to infiltrate platforms like the one I'm on right here, right? And not to mention on Twitter as well, Elon Musk puts these fact checks underneath people's posts also. I mean, how do people not have a problem with that, right? Just the whole notion, well, let Twitter give you a fact check. The whole fact check, believe the opposite every time you see a fact check. These people are not giving you any facts. They're trying to steer you away from truth by putting fact checks under everything, just like the stuff with the hurricane. Oh, it wasn't a man-made one, Twitter tells us. Oh, it was just naturally occurring, they tell us. Oh, well, we trust Elon Musk now, so we better believe what he says. And they continue to keep people stuck in a hive mind. So I thought that speech was very telling. The digital ID is a big thing that Elon Musk is going to have a part in. Big time. We already know about the Neuralink. We already know about Elon Musk's role in moving forward with this new world order. I love how some people think that these two billionaires, Trump and Musk, have gone rogue from the globalist elites, right? Then you see them at the 11th day of September. Trump was standing right next to Biden, right next to Kamala, right? Well, they have to do that, right? But on the 6th day of January, he didn't go there and shake hands and concede or any of those. It's a show. It's a charade. It's fake. It's fictional. Deal with it. If you can't figure it out at this point and you think that they're doing all the things that they're doing, but they're going to let you vote and you decide who is president, you're out of your mind. But they know that people still will believe their vote counts until, of course, November 6th, when they don't get the results that they want, because then the government can start peddling propaganda about Russian collusion or about people who were not American citizens voting. And then, of course, the solution for all of that will be a digital ID, probably led by somebody like Elon Musk. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.